Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashcha Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Ashtaki. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, and we are on verse 26. So Prabhuji covered verse 25 yesterday. So now we're gonna start reading verse 26. Let me share. Oh, Prabhuji sharing. Okay, great. Okay, verse 26. Rajarshinam janayita Shashta chotpatagaminam Nigrahita kaleresha Bhuvo dharmasya karanat. So just to give a bit of a background on what's happening. So the title of this chapter is Birth of Maharaj Parīkṣit. And here the astrologers are doing the Jata Karma and they are describing to Maharaj Yudhishthira the qualities of Maharaj Parīkṣit. So Maharaj Parīkṣit is the last person in the lineage that is about to be born. So Maharaj Yudhishthira is really keen to understand his qualities. So one of the questions Maharaj Yudhishthira asked was whether the child will follow the predecessors or the ancestors. So the principle that is being highlighted in that question is whether the child will have submission to the principles of the predecessors or the ancestors. So whether he will conform to the similar standard of his ancestors. So this is because, when a child is born, the child may have a potential. But if the child follows the family lineage, the family tradition, then the potential can be maximized. In a similar way, a disciple may be born, disciple may be there with a lot of potential. But if a disciple starts following the instructions of the disciplic succession, following the footsteps of the disciplic succession, then the disciple can realize its full potential. So for example, we see the Guru Parampara on our altar. And we might have heard so many stories about Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, or going further up, even up to Goswamis. We might have heard so many stories about them. But if we actually visit places like Vrindavan and Mayapur, where a lot of these exalted devotees have actually held pastimes, where their actual samadhis are placed, so we will understand, how we all are part of such a large family tradition. So all this understanding, which can be sometimes theoretical, becomes real, because you see people who have practiced that in life and have perfected their lives, and not just their lives. Through their service, they have perfected others' lives, by writing things like books, opening temples. So learning from becomes really real if you go there and see the tradition. So connection to the tradition, connection to the disciplic succession is really important. So that's the kind of the essence of the question that Maharaj Yudhishthira is trying to understand. So basically, we understand that we also, like as devotees, trying to become devotees, we are actually representing an amazing line of disciplic succession. So if we understand our lineage, our tradition, our history, a legacy of our predecessors, we can also have confidence that yes, this process works, and then we can also maximize our potential. So another example is, his known as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master of our dearmost Srila Prabhupada. So once he took a vow to chant 64 rounds. Actually, not 64 rounds, 2 times 64 rounds, 128 rounds. Actually, not even that. It's 3 times 64 rounds, 192 rounds every day. 192 rounds. That's a massive effort. Now, how long he took that vow to chant that for? A day? A week? A month? A year? No. He took that vow to chant 192 rounds daily for 10 years. 10 years continuously. Now, if we do that, we might even struggle to do that one day. It's such a difficult task. It's not impossible, but it's very, very extraordinary. But just to chant that every day for 10 years is a superhuman task. So in one sense, we see that chanting the holy name, basically attachment to the Lord, this is a higher principle than religion or even varnashram. Because one is having so much love of the Lord that he can continuously, incessantly chant the holy names of the Lord. But still, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, on the order of his spiritual master and his father, he agreed to take a position of acharya. So he took sannyas, which is in one way being part of the varnashram society. So one of the 4 orders of the varnashram system. So in one sense, actually that's going a level down from where he was. But by doing that, by following that order, he spread Krishna consciousness throughout India. He opened Gaudiya Maths throughout India. And through his preaching, our own Srila Prabhupada got connected to him. And then he further continued that legacy of spreading this Krishna conscious movement throughout the world. So, see, similarly, we also have, basically by just following the order of the spiritual master, they both recognize their potential. So similarly, we also have a lot of potential, and we can maximize this by following the orders of our spiritual master, our Shiksha gurus, senior devotees, following the Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So we need to maximize our potential by following the order of the authority. So, like someone might have inclination to cook well, some have inclination to organize well, some could be very good in singing, some could be very good in teaching, someone could be very good in decorating, and so on. And that's great. That means they have a potential, but they can maximize that potential of using that service in Krishna under the guidance of someone who is more senior, who has done this, who is the authority in that domain. So we are seeing in this verse that, so now basically we start reading the translation. So Prabhuji, can you please share the verse again? So someone would like to read the translation and the purport, please?
It's 26, no, Prabhu?
Yes, 26, verse 26.
I can do, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Is it? Yeah, that's the 26th verse. Yes, perfect. Yes, please can carry on, Mataji.
Thank you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This child will be the father of kings who will be like sages for world peace and for the sake of religion. He will be the chastiser of the upstarts and the quarrelsome. Purport. The wisest man in the world is a devotee of the Lord. The sages are called wise men, and there are different types of wise men for different branches of knowledge. Unless, therefore, the king or the head of the state is the wisest man, he cannot control all types of wise men in the state. In the line of royal succession, in the family of Maharaja Yudhishthira, all the kings without exception were the wisest men of their times. And so also it is foretold about Maharaja Parīkṣit and his son Maharaja Janmejaya, who was yet to be born. such wise kings can become chastiser of upstarts and uprooters of Kali or quarrelsome elements. Quarrelsome elements. As will be clear in the chapters ahead, Maharaja Parīkṣit wanted to kill the personified Kali who was attempting to kill a cow, the emblem of peace and religion. The symptoms of Kali are wine, women, gambling, and slaughterhouses. Wise rulers of all states should take lessons from Maharaja Parīkṣit in how to maintain peace and morality by subduing the upstarts and quarrelsome people who indulge in wine, illicit connection with women, gambling, and meat eating supplied by regularly maintained slaughterhouses. In this age of Kali, a regular license is issued for maintaining all these different departments of quarrel. So, how can they accept peace and morality in the state? The state fathers, therefore, must follow the principles of becoming wiser by devotion to the Lord, by chastising the breaker of discipline and by uprooting the systems of quarrel. As mentioned above, if we want blazing fire, we must use dry fuel. Blazing fire and moist fuel go ill together. Peace and morality can prosper only by the principles of Maharaja Parīkṣit and his followers. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaji, thank you so much. So we'll quickly read the word to word. Raja Rishinam, of kings as good as sages. Janayita, producer. Shashta, chastiser. Cha, and Utpat Gaminam, of the upstarts. Nigrahita, molester. Kalehe, of the quarrelsome. Eshaha, this. Bhuva, of the world. Dharmasya, of religion. Karanat, on account of. So basically, here it's what's being asked about is, whether the child will be, will have qualities like that of sages. So we are seeing in these verses that how, like, basically it's been asked about Maharaj Parīkṣit qualities. So one of the things we are seeing is Maharaj Parīkṣit's detachment, and his attachment to his duties as a king. So that's being questioned by Maharaj Yudhishthira, whether he will perform his duties that he's supposed to do. So whether he will do a wonderful job in protecting the citizens, whether he will actually protect the citizens by subduing the upstarts and the quarrelsome people. So it is not that he's basically has to focus on being, to neglect material enjoyment. Basically, it is said that he will be so spiritually supercharged that he could actually do his duties perfectly. So the word upstarts is an interesting word. The word upstarts, so in Sanskrit it means utpatha gaminam. So utpat means disturbance, quarrelsome, and quarrelsome means Kali. So the age of Kali Yuga is also known as the age of quarrel. So it is emphasizing that the influence of the age of Kali results in quarrel. So this purport actually, stating that one of the duties of the king for the sake of religion is to curb or to be the chastiser of people who are negative influence. It is duty, just like it's a duty of leaders to create leaders. Similarly, it's a duty of king to create a qualified king. So, which is pretty much kind of Yudhishthira Maharaj's concern. He's trying to make sure his dynasty will be in the right hands. So one of the qualification of the king is he should be wise. So how wise he should be? So he should be wise like a sage, like a rishi. So that's why the kings during those times, they were known as Raj Rishi. Why is that? Because if one is in a king's position, one will come across so many different situations, and each situation will require a different skill set or a response from the kings. So sometimes the situation might require courage, sometimes it might require strength, but sometimes it will require just wisdom. But question is, where does wisdom come from? So Prabhupada mentions very nicely in the purport, the wisest man in the world is a devotee of the Lord. The sages are called wise men, and there are different types of wise men for different branches of knowledge. Unless, therefore, the king or the head of the state is the wisest man, he cannot control all types of wise men in the state. So the king are supposed to control the wise men, as is mentioned, but kings are not supposed to control the brahmanas. They are supposed to seek, counsel or advice from the brahmanas. But then the king needs to be wise enough to understand which is good advice and which is not good advice at that particular time. So, and then also how he can take expertise of different people who are expert in different domains, in different situation, to get the best outcome for his citizens, to get the best outcome for his kingdom. Because he understands, like no one person can be master at everything. Society is very diverse. Krishna has given different kind of talents to everyone. But a king is able to extract the right knowledge so that best knowledge can be applied for the welfare of everyone. So this also kind of applies to us. Each of us who is trying to be a devotee, we also need to become leaders. And then leader sometimes not just necessarily means having a superficial position in any hierarchical order. A leader means, as the word says, lead. It means to lead by example, acharya. So Prabhupada, described, used to mention his aim of creating Krishna consciousness is to create first-class men and first-class women. So the first-class human being firstly follows right example, and then by following the right example, gives the direction to the society. So we all, whether we like it or not, we are actually also being trained to become, to take that position, to be first-class men and women, just by trying to be Vaishnavas. So, and then, whether it's a workplace or a school or a society, we eventually, whatever we learn is exhibited by our character. So there is a kind of leadership that basically makes a devotee, because they just don't follow the crowd. They are basically, the devotees are alert to the principles of religion, to principles of life, and then they follow the path, and that is leadership. Because if we just follow the crowd, we may follow a path where majority of the people are not following, and that's okay. But as long as we understand what we are following is in line with our principles, then that's leadership. So self-leadership leads to others following our path, if our path is a path of truth. If we are following something which kind of helps the society, people will automatically follow us. So attaining this wisdom is really important. And we can just attain wisdom by being a devotee. Prabhupada has kept it so simple. Just become a devotee, all other good qualities will automatically develop in us. So the next part of the purport describes the key reasons of degradation in the age of Kali. So, the neglect of basic principle of religion. So he points out to the four things, which is wine, women, gambling, and slaughterhouses. So Prabhupada mentions wise rulers of all states should take lessons from Maharaj Parīkṣit in how to maintain peace and morality by subduing the upstarts and quarrelsome people who indulge in wine, illicit connection with women, gambling, and meat eating supplied by regularly maintained slaughterhouses. So what's happening in this age of Kali? All these things are licensed, So it looks like maybe the only exception would be, illicit women connection through prostitution, maybe not legalized in all countries. But apart from that, all other three, things are being done in a legalized manner through licenses. So what does this mean? That the government is actually getting a cut. They're getting a revenue generated as these activities are being promoted in the society, which are absolutely against the principle of religion. So these activities are a very major source of government revenue, and a lot of powerful people control these activities. So government actually have legalized this instead of saying no to these activities. But the question is, even if government legalizes it, why do actually people still engage in it? So government can legalize a lot of things. So let's say government is legalizing coal mines, but does everyone does that? Like majority of people does that? Like people who think that they'll be good in that business, they might apply for that, but majority of people probably not. So, one of the reasons is explained like why majority of people are actually falling to the traps of these four problems is expressed in the verse Canto 10 verse number 8. So we read this verse a lot during the Kartik month. So this is Narad Muni mentioning in verse 10.10.8, Sri Narada Vacha, Nahi anyo jushato josyan buddhi brahmsho rajo gunaha Srimadad abhijatyadhir yatra stridhyutamasavaha. So the translation goes like, Narad Muni said, among all the attractions of the material enjoyment, the attraction of riches bewilders one's intelligence, more than having beautiful bodily features, taking birth in an aristocratic family, and being learned. When one is uneducated but falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women, and gambling. I'll repeat. When one is uneducated but falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women, and gambling. So basically, it's saying that we should act in a way that our intelligence is not brought down. So buddhi bhramsha, that means our the enjoyment kind of can attract our intelligence and can bewilder us. So we need to protect our intelligence. And how can we protect our intelligence? By raising our intelligence by contemplating on subject matter of Krishna. So we reduce our intelligence by contemplating on subject matter not related to Krishna. So we know how it kind of falls down, but we can raise it by focusing on a subject matter of Krishna. So we should try to associate with people who only discuss about topics of Krishna, and avoid association of people who speak topics other than Krishna. I understand we have to do our daily duties, we have to be practical, but I think we need to make an extra effort to also hear people who only speak about Krishna, or people there are dedicated events, just like this Srīmad Bhāgavatam class, just like our Saturday program. We should make a point that we should attend this, because we understand that we are doing the opposite so much. We need to counteract by hearing topics of Krishna and saturate ourselves with that, so that we are not influenced by other topics, any other topics other than Krishna. So for example, we give 6 to 7 hours of work to our work and the topics related to our work. But do we give 6 to 7 hours to Krishna and discussing of topics of Krishna? No. But we should try on special days like Ekadashi, on festivals, on months like Kartik, to give more time to Krishna, to do more of these activities to give us strength. So then Prabhupada mentions, in the purport, that so how can they expect peace and morality instead? So the government and the leaders, they allow this systematic breaking of the principles of religion, by legalizing all these, for problems, by promoting these activities. How can basically there will be peace and morality in the state? So one of the most basic requirement of peace is that life needs to be protected. So, but if we allow killing of animals just for the pleasure of tongue, and not thinking about what's going to happen to the animal, what's going to happen to the the animals' families, what's going to happen to not just animals, ourselves, our own soul, like the kind of karma we're going to get as a reaction of that, and then how many births we need to take because of doing one offense. If we don't kind of consider all this, how can there be peace? So it says, then Prabhupada mentions, the state fathers therefore must follow the principles of becoming wiser by devotion to the Lord, by chastising the breaker of discipline, and by uprooting the symptoms of quarrel, as mentioned above. If we want blazing fire, we must use dry fuel. Blazing fire and moist fuel go ill together. Peace and morality can prosper only by principles of Maharaj Parīkṣit and his followers. So the analogy of blazing fire and moist fuel is used. So basically, peace and morality go hand in hand. So it's like a blazing fire and dry fuel. So if it's dry fuel and blazing fire, the burning process will happen. But if there is blazing fire, but the fuel is moist, basically there is immorality, then it will not function. The fire will not happen. So this fire of material existence will not go away. So if we want basically peace and morality, we need to make sure that that basically the fuel is dry, which is these four activities should be very much not allowed ideally, but if not, we can restrict them as much as possible. So even from the verse, when we read about Narad Muni, the problem is not much about having so much wealth, which kind of bewilders us, having beauty, having the riches, having the fame. It's the uneducation. It's basically one is uneducated and falsely puffed up. That is the problem. So if we can make sure that we are spiritually educated, then we can protect ourselves from engaging in these activities. We can protect our families from engaging in these activities. So spiritual education is the backbone of our Krishna conscious journey. So we need to make sure our children are also are equipped with this education so that they can protect themselves as they grow up. Okay, so any questions or comments on this verse before we move on? Any corrections? If someone wants to add something? If not, we'll go to the next verse. So verse number 27. Takshakad atmano mrityum dvija putropasarjitad prapatsyata upashritya mukta sangah padam hare. Would anyone would like to read the translation and purport, please?
I can read, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird sent by a son of Brahmana, he will get himself freed from all material attachment and surrendered unto the personality of Godhead, taking shelter of him. Purport. Material attachment and taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord go ill together. Material attachment means ignorance of transcendental happiness under the shelter of the Lord. Devotional service to the Lord, while existing in the material world, is a way to practice one's transcendental relation with the Lord when it is matured. One gets completely free from all material attachment and becomes competent to go back to home, back to Godhead. Maharaj Parīkṣit, being especially attached to the Lord from the beginning of his body in the womb of his mother, was continuously under the shelter of the Lord. And the so-called warning of his death within the 7 days from the date of the curse by the Brahmana's sons was a boon to him to enable him to prepare himself to go back to home, back to Godhead. Since he was always protected by the Lord, he could have avoided the effect of such a curse by the grace of Lord. But he did not take such undue advantage for nothing. Rather, he made the best use of the bad bargain. For 7 days, he continuously heard srimadbhagavatam from the right source, and thus he got the shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord by that opportunity. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. So we have reached 7 a.m. So we will stop our session today and continue tomorrow. Any last questions or comments from anyone? Okay. If not, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, devotees. Have a great day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.